Hey Vault Hunters, Jonathan here at Night Knowledge, and today I'm going to go over my Graveborn build and why I think it's the strongest and best class in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. It's definitely a high risk, high reward playstyle, but I definitely feel powerful and rarely go in to save your soul. It's for the player that wants to run right into the mix of things and mainly rely on your action skill and spells to deal the damage. It's deadly against groups of enemies, but a tad weak against flying enemies. This class is all about your action skill, Dire Sacrifice, where when activated, you sacrifice 40% of your health to do 150% damage of sacrifice health to all nearby enemies in what seems to be a sphere shape. It's important to state that line of sight is important, so you can't hit enemies hiding behind walls. Unlike other pet classes, the Graveborn Demi-Lich is an afterthought. Except for one good passive skill, it's not the strength nor the focus of my Graveborn build. You might also like this class because it's easy to allocate your attribute points and know what gear to get. Every single initial attribute point must go into Constitution. When maxed, it'll give you 50% additional ward and health, which will fuel your action skill ability. Once you max that out, it's up to you where you want to put the rest of your points. As you've seen, you can reduce your spell cooldown as I have, or your ability cooldown. This all depends on your playstyle or your multiclass option. We'll look at the passive skills that I'd like to highlight specifically for the Graveborn in what I'd like to call Tier 1 in the first row. You'll want to select Mortal Vessel, which will give you more health, and Leech Efficiency, which applies to your dark magics. Then there is Essence Drain, which is a kill skill, which increases your spell cooldown rate. In Tier 2, there is Sanguine Sacrament, which when you cast a spell, it regenerates your health. There is Dark Pact, which increases your dark magic damage. In Tier 3, there is Dread Covenant, where when you hit 0 health, it will restore your health and sacrifice your Demi-Lich companion instead. There's Stain Your Soul, which increases the dark magic bonus to your spells. In Tier 4, there's Ascension, which is another kill skill, which increases your max health and spell damage for a long time. There's nothing in Tier 5 that I found particularly good, but in Tier 6, there's Morhaime's Blessing, where when you cast any spells, it activates all your kill skills. The best thing about the Graveborn build is that you don't need to worry too much about your passive skills that you've selected, even though I've pointed them out to you. Because as long as you've put your points into Constitution, a majority of your damage will come from your ability skill instead. When it comes to gear, I'd highly recommend that your primary weapon has the dark magic element to regain health, and your secondary weapon be lightning, frost, and poison to take down the appropriate wards when you encounter them. Because you'll be close up, I'd recommend pistols, SMGs, even assault rifles. I found that shotguns are particularly unenjoyable in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands and typically will shy away from them. Make sure wards and shields don't reduce your health and preferably increase your health instead. When it comes to bonus stats, I'd recommend dark magic efficiency, dark magic damage, spell cooldown, and ability cooldown. When it comes to spells, it always has to be a dark magic spell that will then restore your health. The more weapons and spells that are dark magic means the less time you have to worry about being low on health or having to save your soul. Eruption and Sunder are some of my favorite kinds of spells, but only when the Sunder has self-targeting smaller Sunders or when Eruption causes a singularity and first pulls nearby enemies to you. Spells with extra charges and low cooldowns is also ideal. In terms of playstyle, a Graveborn player will run in and engage the largest group of enemies and use your Dire Sacrifice ability right away. This will ensure the most amount of enemies are hit and thus restores your health to full. Use your spell immediately afterwards, which is hopefully dark magic, to restore more health. When both your ability and spell are on cooldown, use your dark magic gun. Then, whenever you're able to, recast your spell or ability, whichever one comes first. When it comes to multiclassing, it's all about what you want to accomplish. But honestly, to me, your S tier multiclass option is the Berserker, which provides great health regeneration, damage reduction, and more health, which results in more dire sacrifice damage. The Clawbringer and Spore Warden are good for group play, while the Spell Shot is a good option if you want to focus on spells. And finally, the Stabomancer will enhance your dark magic weapons and spells. So that is my Graveborn build video. As a recap, the reason this is my favorite class is because it is very durable while dealing a ton of damage to the maximum amount of enemies. While in intense combat, you'll often see your party members go down into save your soul, while you'll be still jumping around at full health. Let me know in the comments below what classes you've multiclassed with the Graveborn. Check out the rest of my channel for other videos on Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, video games, board games, and other fun things. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.